So you're just not used to it, huh? Like hearing yourself?
No, not at all.
No?
I told you yesterday, public speaking, I was in the corporate world for a while, and that has always been my biggest struggle. I hate talking in front of people.
Yeah, I hear myself way too much. That's my problem.
You sound pretty good. I was listening to some of your podcasts, and you sound pretty good. Yeah.
Thank you. I try a little bit, but yeah, I have the opposite problem. I just get sick of my voice hearing it so much. And it's like, all right.
Welcome to Are We Where Yet with Johnny Awesome and Tori Black.
All right, everybody, welcome out to season 2, episode number 2 of the Are We Where Yet podcast. I'm your host, Johnny, or Mahatma Johnny. That's where I'm going to go with today, Rigo. Does that sound all right?
No.
Not at all. Or you could, what about John D?
No.
Just John D? No? Nothing like that? Okay. I'm just going to be Johnny
Sounds
today.
like jaundice.
That's horrible, Rigo. That's horrible. Anyway, we'd like to thank our partners. It's Studio Y. You can go to studioyyoga.com and check out their class schedule. You go over there. You say that you heard an ad or whatever you want to call this, what I'm doing on our podcast. 25% off membership or a class. Just dip in for a class. They got yoga. And I think they're doing yoga with cats now, which I don't get. But hey, you know, whatever. People, you know. Yoga with beer sounds good, though. Would you do that, Rigo?
No.
No, not at all. So
I've been trying to convince my husband. He won't
go
for it. No.
Yoga at all or yoga with beer?
With beer.
Yeah,
I thought that would be interesting, and he just doesn't want to.
Sounds good to me. So yeah, you go to studioy.com or studioyyoga.com and 25% off their classes or the whole membership. And also want to thank North End Coffee House. It's downtown Yuma, Arizona. Go over there. You get 10% off your coffee or a free cookie. And you get that free cookie. That's where I have my meetings in the morning. That's where I actually, Mia. And so let's get into that. I would like to introduce our guest. It's Mia Jones, right?
Yes, Mia Jones.
Mia Jones. That's just a cool name. That's like a rapper.
I know. Nice and short, right?
Right. Yeah. You sound like famous already. I think this is going to launch your career.
I think so too.
Good. So anyway, you had mentioned, I think, that this month has something to do with cancer awareness.
It's actually September. It's Ovarian Cancer
Awareness. Okay. So that's why I blew off all the other guests, everybody else I had scheduled. And I said, hold your horses. I'm going to get Mia on here because Mia has a story to tell.
Yes.
Okay. And so that's a little teaser of the story, but it's a serious issue. You do have ovarian cancer.
I do. I started this journey back in November of 2016 is when I was diagnosed. Then June of 17 is when I was told that the cancer was gone. There was no evidence of disease. And 3 months later, at my regular checkup, they told us that it was back. So September 6th, it's been a year since I've been battling this disease. So September is a big month for me.
So a year. So what was the date again that you were first diagnosed?
November 9 of 16.
Of 2016. You were diagnosed, and what was it? What you're experiencing something different, something out of the ordinary?
No, the only thing that I noticed was the bloating. I looked like I was about to have a baby. My husband and I and our 2 little kids went camping the last weekend of October. And we were camping just for a couple of days. And when we came back home, I noticed that I was bloated. And in my head, I thought it was all the beer that I was drinking.
Oh, you like beer? That's cool.
Like beer,
there
yes.
There you go. All right.
So I, associated my bloating to drinking alcohol. So I waited a day, and then the bloating wasn't going away. I went down to Mexico. I called my parents that Sunday. I go, hey, you know what? Is there a doctor that I can go see? Because I don't want to go to the ER. I know it's going to be 4 or 5 hours if I go here. So I went down to San Luis, Mexico, and the guy just told me that it was probably my GI system. I had some problems, maybe just gas associated, and he just gave me some medication. and that was supposed to make it go away.
Okay, so you went to Mexico to get this thing at least diagnosed? What's this problem? So what, he just sit you down and you explain some symptoms to him?
I just told him that I'm very petite. So for me to show that I look like I was about to have a baby, it was significant. I was wearing my maternity clothes by then.
Oh,
I
wow.
pulled up some of my dresses that I had left from, I had a 1-year-old back in 2016. So I was wearing dresses because my clothes just wouldn't fit. And I told him, I go, that's the only symptom that I have. I don't have anything else. There's no pain. There's no constipation. There's no nausea. There was nothing, just the bloating.
Just bloating.
Just the bloating. And I knew in my head it was not normal. So he just gave me medication and sent me home. That was Sunday. So November 2nd, the following Wednesday, my parents came to town and saw me. And they were concerned. We were all a little concerned. I think we just, since I wasn't showing any other symptoms, just the bloating, we were concerned, but not too concerned. So my parents saw me. They were in town, and they told me, if you don't go and see the doctor, we're going to take you to the hospital ourselves. And I was like, okay, I'm going to pick up my daughter from school. I'm going to go home, and I'll go to the hospital. I promise I'm going to go straight to the hospital. And that's what I did. I went home. And I told my husband, I go, hey, you know what? Stay with the girls. This bloating is not normal. I look bigger than when I was expecting Emma. I go, I just need to go to the hospital so they can tell me what it is. And
you were kind of a little nonchalant about it? But you were kind of internally worried, but you didn't show that worriedness. It doesn't sound like you showed it to your husband at that point.
You know what? At that point, I had done a little research. And ovarian cancer was one of the things that popped up. So
during your research?
During my, everybody tends to go to Google and start,
WebMD, you go in there.
You start reading. And that was the only sign. In my head, I was trying to convince myself that it was nothing serious because I didn't show any of the other signs, which is frequent trips to the bathroom, and bloating, pain, not being able to eat because you feel full all the time. So I didn't have those symptoms. So in the back of my head, as I was driving to the hospital, and I told you this when we met at the coffee shop, I was preparing myself on how to tell my family that the news were not good. Like mentally, I was preparing myself. How am I going to tell my kids? How am I going to tell my parents? And even then, twice, I turn around and I'm like, what am I going to do? Tell the doctor that I'm bloated? They're going to think it's gas and send me back home. So twice I turn around to head back home. And again, in my head, I'm like, Mia, this is not normal. You need to get it checked. So I did. I went straight to the hospital. And I was lucky. I saw one of my friends there that is a nurse. And she saw me. She goes, what is wrong with you? I go, Amy, I don't know. And she knew I wasn't pregnant because we had done a half marathon not too long before that. So she goes, do you look like you're about to have a baby? I go, I know. She goes, you know what? Let me talk to my doctor. I think I'm going to move you to the next patient that they take in. So she did. Within 15 minutes, they called me in. And I was lucky enough to have a doctor that he knew what to do right away. This is one of the cancers that can be misdiagnosed so bad because the symptoms can be associated to so many other diseases. But this doctor right away requested to get an ultrasound of my pelvic area. And as I was getting the ultrasound, I'm talking to the tech and she's all talking. And I kind of saw it in her eyes that she saw something.
That something's up.
Something's up, yes, because she was just talking normal to me and then her look just became so serious. And she just focused on the screen and she completely stopped talking to me. And she just...
Did your heart, did something, did you sense something, but was it like, oh no?
And it's one of those things that something's wrong. Right then I knew that something was wrong. So she told me she was going to go and talk to the doctor to see if the doctor needed any additional screening. And then she came back and she told me, you know what, I'm going to take you back to the room. The doctor's going to come and see you right away. And for those of you who have been at the hospital, you know that the wait time can be, you can be there hours before you even see the doctor. This happened so quick. Within 45 minutes of me arriving to the hospital, the doctor was already sitting next to me, talking to me about his concerns.
Things are moving fast at this point.
Things were moving super fast. By then, my husband had already called my back then 16-year-old daughter. She was at school because she does sports medicine. And she was already there in the room waiting for me. My parents were already in the room waiting for me. And when the doctor came in and told me, hey, we found a tumor on your ovaries and I'm very concerned, he goes, I need to do a CT scan. And I go, okay. So I try to stay calm. I can see the panicking, in my parents' eyes. My daughter was panicking. After the CT scan, he came back and he didn't tell me it was cancer. He just said he was very concerned and that I needed to go and see my primary doctor so I can be referred to the specialist. My daughter, she was 16 and she asked, do they look benign? And I try not to ask the questions because I didn't want to hear the answers because my parents were there, my daughter was there.
So hold on, wait a minute.
I didn't.
So you didn't want them to hear, but you knew that you were going to have to face this one day. But out of your love or respect for them, you're like, wait, I don't want to know because they're in the room.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right then, I knew that I needed to protect them, that I needed to be strong for them. So I didn't ask.
You're the patient.
I know.
But you felt you needed to be strong for them.
For them.
Okay.
And I didn't, but my daughter did. And the doctor looked her in the eye and said, no, honey, they don't. So seeing my daughter fall apart, I told you right then, I knew I needed to be strong for them.
Okay.
I called my husband and I said, hey, it doesn't look good. I'll fill you in when I get home. I'll give you all the details. And the journey started right then, November 2nd. And it went super fast, to be honest with you. From November 2nd, like I said, I drove myself to the ER.
Okay, so you drove yourself, and so they said it's not benign. And I know there's stages to cancer, right? So they tell you what the stage at that point?
He didn't told me. I had to go and see my doctor.
Okay.
He goes, we don't have a specialist here. We don't have a gyno working at this time. He goes, just go and see your doctor and they'll be able to explain to you and tell you what to do. The next day, that's what I did. I called women's health specialist and requested to see my doctor, and my doctor didn't have any openings that day. And I said, you know what, I need to see someone today. And I explained to them my situation. And I said, whoever you have opened, I need to see one of your specialists today. I go, because I need to be referred as soon as possible to an oncologist. And they made me an appointment for later that day with one of their doctors who happened to have done his residency in Tucson with the doctor that I see. And he didn't say anything. He goes, I can't tell you it's ovarian cancer. He goes, it does look very concerning, but I can't tell you until you see an oncologist. And he gave me 3 different doctors to see, to request to be seen in Tucson. He goes, but, you can go to Phoenix, San Diego, anywhere. He goes, those are the doctors that I've worked with. And, it's up to you guys to decide who you're going to see. Right away, we picked the doctor that we wanted. We made the appointment. And she saw me November 9th. So that's when she confirmed that it was stage 3 ovarian cancer.
So November 9th, stage
9th.
3. How do the stages work?
The stages work. One is when it's just on your ovaries. It hasn't spread to any other organs in your body. Stage 2, it can be both ovaries and on your tubes. 3 is when it had spread all your abdomen and your pelvic, your everywhere. Stage 4 is when it's already in your lymph nodes, or is that what they call?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
You know more than me at this point.
So yes. So just a little bit about that. 15% get diagnosed in the early stage, which is 1 and 2.
Okay.
It's how quickly it can spread. But most 85% are being diagnosed stage 3 and 4.
Because they're already showing that amount of symptoms, their body, that they're recognizing something's wrong, and it's already 3 and 4.
Yes.
So it's already spreading. Okay. So you got it. It's spreading.
Yes.
What do you feel at this point? What's
At this
going
point,
through your mind?
You know what? At this point, this is how crazy things went. I went from driving myself November 2nd to the ER to November 9, my husband having to wheel me in a wheelchair to see the doctor. I couldn't even walk.
Couldn't walk.
I couldn't walk. The pain, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't eat. I was on pain medication because the pain was too much for me to deal with. And this is coming from someone that had 4 kids without any pain medicine. So for me, having to take pain medication was a struggle.
You felt weak.
I felt like it was out of my control.
Yeah.
And so yeah, she confirmed, when she confirmed that it was stage 3, we knew that it will be harder to beat because when you are stage 3 and stage 4, if you go by their statistics and their numbers, the outcome is not good.
So you know that, right?
By then, we had already read.
You read, so you read some information.
Exactly.
It says stage 3, stage 4, lifespan probably, the chances of you being healed, stuff like that. You have that information lodged into your brain, and you're going into this knowing that already.
Exactly.
Okay. So you kept mentioning you had to be strong for your family. Was this still playing a point in your life that you have, I'm sick, but I still have to be strong for them?
It's still, when the doctor told us, my husband just lost it. So I remember getting all my strength and getting up and walking up to him and hugging him and telling him that, we were going to beat it. I said, just, it's okay. We're going to be okay. And even then, I still had that mentality that I needed to be strong for them.
Wow.
So I didn't really have the time to soak it all in and show my feelings until probably 2-3 months into it.
But your natural reflex is, I need to be strong.
I need to be
That's this
strong.
thing that you built up. I need to be strong.
Exactly.
Mia is the strong one, and here we go. We're gonna beat this.
Exactly.
Wow. So now you start this journey. I just want to mention something. When we talked, you said going into this thing, you are already a pretty active, physical, and healthy eater.
Exactly.
So I think you broke my record for how long I was vegan. How long were you vegan?
I was a wannabe vegan probably for a little bit, almost 2 years.
2 years. And you were healthy. You look like you're in shape.
Yeah, I mean, I was, to that point, my healthy lifestyle had been going on for over 15 years.
Of a conscious
healthy eating, exercising, yoga, meditation here and there. I mean, I like I mentioned, 6 months prior being diagnosed, I did my first half marathon. So I was, even the week before I was diagnosed, I was exercising with a group of moms that we used to exercise in the park with our kids in strollers. So I was still running. I was still lifting weights. I was active. So this was pretty.
It was a shock
for everyone.
Because
for myself.
by all accounts, you should be the one that's exempt from this thing called cancer because you're doing the things that they tell people on cancer to do.
Exactly. And the one thing is that for ovarian cancer, I didn't fit your typical woman that gets diagnosed with ovarian cancer because things to prevent it is having kids, breastfeeding, healthy weight, healthy lifestyle.
You checked all those boxes.
I hate medication, so I never took even for a headache. Like I wouldn't have Tylenol at my house or my purse because I just
even for your kids.
Not even for my kids. I know I was such a horrible mom.
So you'd whip up the echinacea and But you had the essential oils and stuff like that.
Back then I didn't knew about oils. Back then it was like drink some water, lay down, and your symptoms are gonna go away.
Okay.
Kind of thing.
Okay, so you fit the profile of somebody that should not get this disease.
Exactly.
But here you are, you got the disease, you're still trying to be strong for everybody, you're facing stage 3. What is your strategy going into this thing to beat it?
You know what? I believe that having that positive attitude, since the moment they told us, I told myself I needed to be strong and that I was going to beat this. I mean, I have 4 kids. From the ages at that point, my son had just turned, 19, I think? No, he turned 20. I had a 16-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 1-year-old when I was told that I had cancer. When I was told that the outcome was not going to be good. And back then I knew I needed to be positive, that I needed to keep a positive state of mind and believe and have my faith stronger than ever to be able to beat this.
Okay, so you mentioned faith. So you have a faith. You believe in God.
I do.
Okay, you believe in God. And so that was your main goal, positive mindset.
Exactly.
Okay. So what do you do going into this thing with your positive mindset? What does that look like for Mia?
You know what? Things are looking pretty good. From not looking like your typical cancer patient. I mean, people see me on the street or friends will see me and they will tell me, you don't look like you're going under chemotherapy, because I don't fit that profile. And I try to believe that cancer is just a disease like any other that I can live with. It's like having diabetes, you have to watch what you eat. You have to take your medication. And as long as you do the right things, you can have a long life, struggling with whatever the side effects from any disease. So that's how I try to face it. I try to face it as if it's just any other disease. It's not a kind of disease that is going to kill me. It's just a disease that I need to learn how to live with.
Okay, so what are some of the side effects that you face?
The first time around, I'm not going to lie, it was pretty hard. I was away from my family for 4 months. My doctor wouldn't even let me come back home. I stay in Tucson almost for 4 months.
Okay.
The side effects were, the first time around, I almost lost my hair, not completely, lost my eyebrows, a little bit of nausea, and constipation. One of the biggest struggles that I've had through this whole ordeal is bowel issues. I had the debulking surgery and hysterectomy in November 15, right after being diagnosed.
Okay.
And in January, I was heading to Tucson just to get my regular treatment when I started experiencing a lot of abdominal pain. And it was a bowel obstruction. And I ended up in the hospital for 28 days without being able to eat. So one of the main things with ovarian cancer is that it does affect your digestive system, and your intestines don't work like a normal person would work. So for a bowel obstruction is pretty typical, and if you do any research, a lot of the times the cancer is not what kills the ovarian cancer patient. It could be a bowel obstruction.
It's the bowel obstruction.
Yes.
It's this side effect of this thing that's growing in your body.
Exactly. And so far, I've had 5.
5 of them.
5. It's been a year, knock on wood. September 9th of 17 was the last one.
Okay.
Right after being told that the cancer was back.
And when we were talking at the coffee shop the first time around, you had to start eating differently.
Yes. Like I said, when I went into remission, it's not even remission. It's called no evidence of disease. In June of 17, I was in that mindset that I needed to try to do a vegan diet, plant-based diet, eat a lot of greens, a lot of fruit, a lot of vegetables. And
it sounds right.
It sounds right. And for years, I have avoided white bread, white rice, all the things that you're not supposed to eat, the sugars and all that. So I was doing that. I was trying to eat a lot more salads and more fruits and more vegetables. But then in July, not even a month after being cancer-free, I had a bowel obstruction. And this was my second one. And so I was at the hospital for 4 days. They had to do an NG tube, which is one of the worst things that you have to go through if you get a bowel obstruction, because that's how they clear your digestive system. And then you have to go on a liquid diet. So after that, I started just Googling myself and trying to find ways to prevent me from having another bowel obstruction, because I can tell you the pain is worse than having kids.
Wow.
Way worse. So I came across this article that you needed to do a low fiber diet. And I was like, okay, so people tell you to eat a lot of fiber because that's how your digestive system gets going. And now I'm reading that I need to do a low fiber diet.
So here's this obscure article over here that you're kind of like, but wait a minute, this doesn't make sense to what everybody else is telling me.
Exactly.
But you did the research, you're looking at this, so what happens once you find this?
And that's what I did. I eliminated fruit and vegetables from my diet.
How dare you?
I know, right? I eliminated anything that has a high content of fiber, like beans and lentils and whole grain. Everything that was already ingrained in my brain that was good for me, I had to stop eating. That was really hard for me because, like I mentioned in the coffee shop, put a cake in front of me and I can eat the whole thing and it won't do anything to my stomach, but give me an apple and I can feel it right away. In the pit of my stomach, I feel that it doesn't sit right. And
So
it's
you
just,
say now, you said feel it. So you're starting to get to feel of your body. You're starting to understanding your body. And you said at the coffee that somebody would put a salad down at a restaurant, like here, eat this. And what would you do?
Oh my goodness, yes. I was at a restaurant and the lady asked me what kind of salad I wanted. They had the garden or Caesar or whatever. I said, no, I don't want my salad. And she's like, oh no, but it comes with your meal. And I'm like, no, hon, I don't want the salad. And she was just trying to push the salad on me. So I had to just give it to one of my friends that was sitting next to me because, and I always used to turn to my husband and be like, people are going to think that I am such an unhealthy person because I order my food and I make sure that there's no vegetables, or if, there's a salad, I can eat it.
Wow. So people are going to assume, right? They're going to look at you like, here, she's pushing away the salad. Me and Rigo don't like when people push salads on us either. Yeah, we get very upset. But so people are going to look at you and like, she's not eating her vegetables.
I know.
How dare her?
I know, right?
That's not right. We're taught to eat our vegetables. But Mia's get to know Mia's body.
Yes.
And what Mia's body needs. And what does Mia's body need?
A lot of meat. I can tolerate dairy. You know what? I try to be balanced. I try to do keto and I just can't. I can't stay away from certain things. And there's times that all I want to eat is ice cream. So if all I want to eat is ice cream, I'm going to eat all
that
the ice cream, whatever I feel like it. I try to have balance in my life. I try to eat as healthy as I can. But if you're going to put a donut in front of me, I'm going to eat that donut. So I learned to just.
So you learned, when you're saying you learned, so you're learning your body because
My
you
body,
said you said it's been a while since you've had this bowel obstruction.
It's been a year, the longest I've ever gone.
So then it sounds to me that you're starting to learn what your body can and can't take. That's like to me that would be like the first step to healing, right? Instead of a doctor saying prescribing you this, and this is what you need for healing. It's like, well, Mia's get to know Mia's body, so Mia knows what healing is all about. So like, wait a minute, I eat this apple, not so good. Even though the rest of the world's like an apple a day, keep the doctor away, and you're like,
not for me.
I think this is going to bring the doctor. That takes some courage.
You know what? Even when I told my doctor, which my doctor is amazing, by the way, the reason why I'm here, I think, is because she has saved my life more than 3 times. When I told her, because at first she had me, after my last bowel obstruction, which was last September, I was on a liquid diet for almost 2 months. So I was juicing, I was doing beef broth, smoothies, you name it. That's all I was able to eat. So I was juicing for 2 whole months. So little by little, she told me I was going to be able to start bringing foods back. And I told her what diet I was going to, well, it's not a diet. It's just avoiding anything that has a lot of fiber. She goes, okay. She was not the one to suggest for me to use, to follow this eating habits. I was the one that told her I was going to do that.
Did she have an opinion about it?
Not really. I think doctors don't try to push any kind of diet on you because what works for one person might not work for the next. So they tend to stay away from telling you exactly what kind of diet you need to follow. And she was okay. If that works for you, Mia, we'll keep it like.
Well, that's good. You got some affirmation or confirmation there from her at least.
Yeah.
And even though the waitress is like, pushing away that
pushing
salad.
that salad. Yes. And even now, every time she sees me, which I get to see her every 3 weeks or so, she will ask me, how are you eating? Still eating the same? And I would just tell her, yeah, I'm still eating the same. Though I started adding a little bit fruit and vegetables back into my diet. But I control it. Like
but you control it.
I can have berries. I try to eat some berries here and there. Half a banana once in a while. And just little by little. And if I eat vegetables, I make sure that they're like super cooked. And I just eat a very small portion. But I don't, I can't eat a whole salad. That's something that I will not dare to do because it scares me. Okay,
so here's Mia. She's taking back some control of her life, at least her diet.
Yes.
So what else do you do on this journey? You said you met somebody or you got referred to somebody in El Centro or Mexicali.
Yes.
When did that come in?
That happened right after I was told that the cancer was back.
Okay. So there was how long was the remission or the
3 months.
evidence? 3 months.
Only 3 months, yes.
So I think that's the 3 months. That's when I originally saw your Facebook post about you beating this thing. And I was like, oh, I wanted to reach out to you and get you on the podcast because I was like, oh, that's a pretty cool story. And then we got busy with season 1 and went by. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to get her on season 2. And I went back to your Facebook and I was like, whoa, the cancer's back.
Yes. Well, I think what happened, you messaged me.
Yeah, I messaged you.
And then I told you, well, it's back.
Yeah.
And it was, yeah.
I was like, what do I do with the podcast now? Like, it was a little bit daunting to me, but I felt like this is the next episode I have to do. And so that's when we met at the coffee shop. So let's not jump that far ahead. Okay.
Yeah,
so then you beat it. How would you say you beat it that first time around?
The first time around was, once again, by just staying positive, and my faith got stronger by the day.
Faith in what?
In God. That He can do miracles. And I have such an amazing support system. And I've had people praying all over the world for me, not just Mexico, where I have family, or the United States. I have people in Europe. I have people, it's just amazing. People just praying for me, knowing that I had that support system, knowing that I had my kids, I had my faith. I was going to beat this, and I did. And it was that summer was the best summer of our lives. We just enjoy family time. I enjoy my kids, spending time with family and spending time with friends, getting back into exercising. Actually, a week after I was told that the cancer was gone, I went back to exercising with my group of moms.
So did you go back to any other things, or was there anything else that you kind of like, okay, I'm good now, I could take on these things now?
Back then, no.
No? Okay,
No.
So just the exercising.
Just the exercising. And like I said, by July, just changing the eating habits.
Okay.
And then in September, when they told us that the cancer was back, and I mentioned this to you, was really hard for me.
So you had this summer of joy, relief, family time, and then September comes around, and how did they find out that it's back? Like, what is that?
But it also, being in remission, I had this fear that being away from receiving treatment was not a good thing.
Ooh.
I lost my security blanket. I lost like my comfort zone.
Fear came in.
Fear came in. And this is typical for cancer patients when you enter the remission world, that you feel that without the medicine, things are not going to be okay.
Okay, so coming up to September, you're starting to get this other feeling on top of the joy and the celebration. There's this fear that's saying, hey.
I was missing it. It was so weird because I miss getting chemo. I miss seeing my doctors. I miss being I felt like things were not under control because I was not receiving treatment.
Okay.
So when I was told in September, it was just my typical checkup. They did a CT scan. And this is typical when you first, they told you that the cancer is gone. You do a 3-month checkup, which is blood work and a CT scan. And if everything's clear, then it moves to 6 months. And then little by little, they stop doing the scans. And after 5 years since when you're told you're now in remission. Well, it was only 3 months. They did the CT scan, and the doctor came in and told us that the cancer was back, and it was back as aggressive as it was the first time.
Okay, so prior to this, the fear comes in. You're starting to miss the nurses, the pampering, to an extent, right? Mia's getting taken care of, right?
Exactly.
In the hospital, Mia can be Mia.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't have to be strong for her family at this place where she's getting chemo. She's the one that's getting the love, the attention, probably for the first time in a long time for Mia's life, I would assume.
Exactly, yes.
So you get this, you're able to kind of like let your hair down, relax. And so chemo is a way of almost like this therapy, I guess.
It could be. It could be because you feel things are under control and you can just lay back and let the drugs do their magic and the doctors take care of everything.
And the doctors, so now Mia doesn't have to be strong for everybody, at least in this arena, in this place.
Exactly.
Then the fear comes in, and then boom, cancer's back.
Yes. So my first reaction was guilt. I felt that I brought it back. I felt that I was being selfish by,
What do you mean?
I don't know. I felt like I was being selfish, that I was putting my family and my kids through this whole ordeal again. That I felt, it was a failure for me. Like I let this cancer came back. I was in that set of mind for like a week that I was the one that caused the cancer. I missed it.
Because you missed it.
Because in my head, I was like, oh my gosh, I called the universe to give me this cancer back because I was missing it so much. And I wasn't strong enough. Maybe I didn't do all the right things in order for me to prevent it from coming back. So it was that guilt that was killing me. I just couldn't stop feeling like a failure.
Okay, from fear, now guilt is coming in. Mm-hmm. Guilt is there, and it's starting to gnaw away at something.
Yes.
Okay, and then the call that you made to somebody, was he in Mexico at this point?
He's the one that called me.
He called you?
Yes, he has his business.
Explain him a little bit.
To be honest with you, I know that his background, he's an engineer, and he had his own construction company, but he always had, I don't know, he's that kind of guy that can see things, and if he will always go up to people and tell them, I see this happen to you. I suggest you do this and that. So after a while, he did some courses or some retreats up in San Diego. I don't know exactly where. And that's when he decided to leave his company behind and change and become, this spiritual guide. And he's a counselor. And he does a lot of retreats where he teaches you how to change your way of thinking.
Okay, so there's this guy. He called you because of...
My sister had just gone to see him.
Okay.
She just was... I don't know how... I can't remember, to be honest with you, how she met him. But she had just done one session with him. And she told me, she goes, hey, do you mind if he calls you? I told him about you, and he would like to give you a call. And I said, sure, have him call me. That's fine. And I was doing my groceries at Sprouts. I was about to go on a girls trip because it was already planned. And I wasn't going to change my mind. And even though the doctor told me not to do and not to go, I still decided that I was going to go. So I was doing groceries to leave food, for my family. And he called me. And right away, he told me that I needed to be open-minded. He goes, I'm going to tell you things that you have gone through. He goes, I don't know how I have this blessing, but I can see your past.
And that can sound a little weird.
I know, especially being a Catholic,
Yeah, growing up in a Catholic church, like this, what is this? Cunandero.
I know. I'm like, who is this guy? Like,
Yeah.
I was like, sure, whatever. I did not believe back then. I was like, sure, I'm just going to let him talk because my sister told me to do it. So.
And you're kind of facing this thing that's bigger than life, bigger than you. So why not be a little open?
Exactly.
Okay.
So, and that's the first thing he told me. He goes, I want you to be open-minded. I go, okay, I'm going to be open-minded. He goes, just let me talk to you. I was okay. So we're FaceTiming. And he told me, the first thing he told me, he goes, I see a lot of fear in you when you were 18. He goes, can you explain to me what happened? And that's when I became a single mom. My oldest, I got pregnant when I was 17, became a single mom, at the age of 18. I said, yeah. He goes, what are your fears? And so he just started talking to me and going through my past. And he was bringing up all the things that I had faced in my life. And he told me, he goes, your entire life, Mia has been strong. Is that right? And
Wow.
I say, yes. He goes, you always face any obstacles, any challenges, any journey with a strong personality, and you don't show your weakness. I go, yeah, you're right.
That's everything you just explained to me earlier.
Exactly. So I was like, okay, so where is this guy, going through with all this? And I'm just being open, talking to him, answering all his questions and letting him in. Like, I just started letting him in, and he then told me, he goes, I believe that most of the things that happens in our lives, we bring into our lives. He goes, I don't want you to feel guilty. He goes, I don't want you to feel guilty at all. He goes, but somehow by you just eating your feelings instead of showing them, you probably caused the cancer.
You caused this tumor to come
out, yes. And he goes, because by then we found out that I was a carrier of the gene, which is the BRCA1 gene, which can cause breast cancer or ovarian cancer. And he told me, he goes, it's not so much your genetics. He goes, by me swallowing your emotions, you can harm your body. He goes, and that's what I want you to believe. He goes, because if you believe that, then you can change that.
You're in control now.
Exactly. He goes, you can change that. And if you believe that you can heal yourself, you will do that as well. So I was like, okay,
So it's like a mindset difference. So because it's like all the nurses and the doctors out there, you're thinking the healing's coming from them. And this guy's saying, wait a minute, Mia, I want you to own this thing, not feel guilty about it, because that could be the first emotion. That was one of your first emotions. He said, not guilty, but just responsible for it. But since you're going to admit that you're responsible for it, now you're in control, really in control.
Really in control.
Not this facade of always being in control where Mia's like shoving that feeling down, feeling like a martyr, feeling like when is somebody going to take care of Mia?
Exactly.
So you just put that down and say, okay, what do you need, sweetie? What do you need, honey? What do you need? And so here he goes. So what did that do to your brain?
You know what? At that point, I don't think I put too much thought into it.
Okay, it was just a little suggestion.
It was like, okay, whatever. Like, I caused this. Sure, I did. But as I was repeating his conversation in my head over and over, because another thing that he told me was that I had a lot of resentment. He goes, because I went through a horrible divorce at the age of 25. When I thought I had married the love of my life, and the guy that took my son under his, wing, and he adopted him, gave him his last name, raised him as if it was his. And when he left us for someone else, he not only that crushed me, but then he turned around and dropped all responsibilities with my son and told my son, I'm out of your life. I'm not your dad. Like, I'm checked out with you. So
wow. Man, that's a lot to go through.
That's a lot to go through.
So now at this point, 25, Mia has to be strong.
At that point, I was like, I need to be the provider for my kids.
For this kid that just lost his dad, the one he knows is his dad.
And my daughter,
and your
both
daughter.
Both of them. But what he did to my son was something that I kept that feeling, that resentment against him for years.
You never let it process.
That anger, that how could someone that I loved so much that I thought it was my everything did this to my kid, so he also told me that I needed to let go of all that resentment.
And on that point, I just want to ask you a question. Did you say to yourself, like, I'm never letting this happen to me again?
Yes.
Wow.
And that was another thing.
Okay.
It's so interesting because even though I remarry down the road, when that happened to me, I told myself I would never, ever let someone hurt me like this again. Like, this is not happening. I'm never going to give 100% like I did to this marriage. And I even told my husband that, my current husband, when I met him, we were just friends. We were co-workers. So he was asking me about why my ex left me, that he literally asked me, he goes, were you a horrible wife that he left you?
Wow.
I know. So I even told him before I even knew he was going to be my husband that I was never going to give 100% like I did.
So you're upfront with this guy, like, hey, look, I'm never giving 100%. So even if you are him, just know you're going to get maybe 60, 50. There's some doors, some rooms in Mia that you're not going to be able to get into, and I'm not going to unlock for you.
No, exactly. I was like, I'm not, because I gave it all before.
And look what happened.
It didn't save my marriage. So why give 100%? So I did. And I've been married for 8 years. Now I can say the love of my life. He's an amazing person. But when I was doing this FaceTime, with Enrique, he even mentioned that to me. He goes, because he was able to tell me everything about my past, everything about my, my divorce and all the things that I struggled with as a single mom of 2 kids and working and, doing all that. And he told me, he goes, and with this person that you're in, he goes, it took you to get sick and watch him take care of you to finally let him in your life and in your heart. He goes, because you had that wall put up this entire time.
Wow.
And I was like, he was completely right.
He was spot on these. Through
everything.
FaceTime, he's never met you in person.
I've never met this guy in person. All of our sessions, and I've had probably 5 sessions with him, have been through our phones.
He's just somebody that is in tune. Somebody that said, I'm going to leave this corporate life. I'm going to leave this rush, this 9 to 5, and follow this gift that I know that I've had since I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And you opened up to him, and he was able to read some things in you. Okay, so now you're at Sprouts. You're getting the groceries. The phone call's over. He read into your life. You go on this trip.
Yes, I decided I've been doing girls trip with my girlfriends for 6-7 years now. And when I was diagnosed in 16, we couldn't go, so we didn't plan our trip. So when we had planned our September 17 trip, and then I'm told 2 days prior my trip that the cancer was back, my doctor wanted me to start chemotherapy right away that following Friday. And I was like, nope, I am going to San Francisco with my girlfriends. And I did. And things were not good when we had a really good time Friday. Saturday evening, I started noticing the abdominal pain.
The pain's back.
The pain is back, and I knew it was a bowel obstruction. I knew right then.
Because you know your body now.
Because by then it was my 3rd time. Mm-hmm. So, yes, that was Saturday. Sunday morning, we were supposed to fly out of San Francisco at 3 p.m. Sunday morning, I just couldn't even stand up. I was in so much pain that by then, between my husband and my sister, because she's one of the girls that was in the trip with me, decided that they were going to have to call an ambulance and take me to the hospital because I couldn't control the pain. It was too much.
You're in this agony. You get to the hospital. What happens?
And that's another thing. My sister right away, calls Enrique and he's just that, telling him what's going on.
Oh, before
And
you even get to the hospital.
Before I even
Enrique's.
get to the hospital,
Okay.
Enrique has already been, doing some exercises. But to be honest with you, I don't remember the exercises right now.
Okay.
But he was doing some exercises to help me control the pain. And he was trying to control my sister because my sister is this in panic mode of not knowing what to do, knowing that by Monday I needed to be in Tucson.
Yeah, she's freaking out, understandably.
She's freaking out. Yes, my husband is back home in Yuma, freaking out. So, yeah, my sister, she's, in the ambulance with me, talking to Enrique and talking to me, trying to keep things under control, just helping us with exercises. When we get to the hospital, and by now, it's been my third or fourth. No, it's been my fourth bowel obstruction by then. So I know the procedure by now. I know even my doctor, which has been my doctor for almost 2 years, would not prescribe me any pain medication until she has gotten a CT scan to confirm that it is indeed a bowel obstruction. So I get to the hospital and the nurse is talking to me and they're trying to give me, ready to go and do an x-ray. And I told them right then, I go, listen, I'm in a lot of pain. I know you guys are going to want to give me morphine. Morphine doesn't do anything to me. This is what you have to give me in order to control my pain. And I told them exactly what kind of pain medication they need to give me. And I told them, I said, and whatever it is, we need to be out of here before 3 o'clock because my flight out of San Francisco to back home is at 3 o'clock. Before they even do any x-rays on me, they gave me the medication.
Wow.
And the pain goes away. And my doctor, the doctor comes in and tells me, he goes, only if I see a clear x-ray, I will let you go home. But if I see any, bowel obstructions, he goes, I can't let you go home. So we're, praying and hoping that everything goes okay. The x-ray comes back completely clear.
Completely clear.
Completely clear, which is weird because I knew I had a bowel obstruction. I knew the cancer was there. The tumors were probably causing it, And by this time, I think an hour has gone by and the pain is coming back. And I told the doctor, I go, I know this medication that you gave me is supposed to last up to 4 hours. I go, the pain is coming back. I need more pain medication before you guys let me go. And I need a prescription for more pain medication so I can take. I go, because I have a flight back home and then I still need to drive 3 hours from San Diego to Yuma. Literally within 2 hours, all this is being taken care of. The doctor gives a prescription to my sister to go and pick up at the pharmacy across the street, which is unheard of. I mean, if you ever been to a hospital, especially in the ER,
Oh, yeah. It's
things
totally
don't go.
unheard of.
Things don't go that way.
No, but it
Yeah.
sounds like to me, Mia went in knowing what Mia needs. She knows her body now. She went in with this authority and looked this doctor in the eye and said, I know what I need. You're going to give me what I need. This is where I need to be.
Exactly.
And he was like, yes, ma'am.
Yes, they gave me what I needed. Everything happened so quick. And here we are, coming back home, to Tucson, because I knew I needed to get back to Tucson. When I get to Tucson, sure enough, I had a full bowel obstruction.
Wow.
And I was in the hospital for a week.
So, I just want to stop right there and kind of sit with the fact that you took control of your body. You knew enough to look at these people and these lab coats, and it kind of could be intimidating. Not everybody could do that. They're like, well, the doctor said, and the doctor says I need to do this. The doctor, it's like, no. Mia knows Mia, and this is what Mia needs. This is where Mia needs to be, and I need to leave to where she gets a miracle from God to where they're like, well, we don't see anything, so be on your way. And then he didn't even see anything, still gave you the medicine for the pain, sent you on your way so you can come over here and take care of things the way Mia takes care of it. That's
Yes.
amazing.
Yes.
People don't do that. And I shared a story when I was in a doctor's office and they did some things to me and it was like, I had to take back my control of my body and like, no, this isn't right. I had to learn that lesson the hard way. But once I started to do that, it's like, no, this is my body. This is me. I know what I need. You know what you need. So you're in Tucson. What happens?
I'm in Tucson. My doctor is not happy at all.
Because you went on this trip.
Because I went on this trip. And she told me that most likely was when you are in an airplane, the altitude can dehydrate your body. So that's what happened to me. I got dehydrated. You get dehydrated, you already have tumors around your intestines. It was something that she knew would happen, but I didn't listen. And I had a bowel obstruction. I was in the hospital for a week. And a month after I was in the hospital, my doctor told me she thought that was it, she thought I was not coming out of the hospital. That's how bad it was. They were talking about me being with an NG tube probably for the rest of my life. They never thought I was going to be able to eat again. Within 3 or 4 days of being in the hospital, I started eating. That's when I was put in a liquid diet for 2 months. And by then, we wanted a second opinion. Even though we were extremely happy with our doctor and we knew she was doing all the right things, but she told me because of my bowel issues, there was not a clinical trial that she could put me on. There were not a lot of drugs that she was able to put me, because most of the side effects from chemotherapy or any clinical trial drug is digestive system. They can cause bowel obstruction, so they can't put me on a clinical trial. And then I'm allergic to the number one drug for ovarian cancer. So at this point, a lot of people were telling us, go to MD Anderson because they're the number one cancer center of America. And they get more clinical trials. They get different drugs. They might have something for you.
So you built up this relationship with this doctor. You trust her. She's done well by you. Mm-hmm. So this takes some courage to say, hey, I need a second opinion.
Yes.
Because I don't like your opinion. Basically,
not that I didn't like her opinion, just that we needed.
Well, I'm saying her opinion
yeah.
at that point was like, this is over.
She still gave me. I was under topotecan, which is a drug for ovarian cancer.
Okay.
And everything seemed okay. That I was responding okay to it. But we told her, and she was open to it. She goes, you know what? If there was one place that I would suggest for you guys to go, it will be MD Anderson, because they get the majority of the clinical trials, because it's considered one of the bigger cancer centers, So we do that. They sent all my medical history to a doctor in MD Anderson. They accept my case. They set up an appointment. We've have our hopes high. We're thinking they're going to have something amazing for me. They might even be able to tweak the Taxol medication so I don't have a reaction to it. We were just planning on us having a good outcome out of this trip. 5 minutes into my appointment with this doctor, she tells me, I have nothing for you. Based on your medical history, based on how many bowel obstructions you've had, how soon the cancer came back. She goes, go home. Go back home and just create memories with your kids.
That's
exactly.
That is, one of my favorite speakers, he says that a doctor should never tell a patient you're terminally ill. The doctor should say, my ability to help you has been terminated. That there's nothing more I could do. But it seems like in the story that you're telling me, it's like this battle of inside of Mia, outside of Mia, inside of Mia, outside of Mia. It's like either the healing's going to come inside or outside. It's like you're looking one way and then the other. So it's like there's confusion of where this healing's going to come from, because this guy, Enrique, is telling you, hey, Mia, it's here. But then it's like, well, no, it's over there. But Enrique's like, no, it's over here. So here you are. You're no NG tube.
No.
You're sitting right in front of me. I could see you. Where do you go from here? You
know what? That day, she told me, that I had less than a year. Those were her words. Just go home. You have less than a year. Because she was just looking at the numbers. I was pissed.
So now you're reduced down to some numbers.
Exactly. I was
and
like,
a chart that said, this is you. But you're you. You're not these numbers. You're not these papers, these digital whatever now.
Exactly. So
you're
I looked,
pissed.
I'm mad. I'm like, this doctor made me come all the way here. She had my file before she even approved my case. She allowed me to waste my money and my time and my hope. She gave us hope when there was none for her to give. And she allowed all this. So I'm sitting in front of her in a table similar to this. It was me and my husband, and she was in front of us. And I'm looking at her like, are you kidding me? And she asked me, she goes, why are you so calm? And I look at her, I go, because you're no one to put an expiration date on my life.
Ooh, I like that.
I go, I have overcome so much. You don't know me. You don't know. You only see, a file. I go, and I know that I have more.
You're more than that file.
Yes. I'm more. She goes, well, if I were you, because they have asked us to stay in Houston for 5 days, to plan to be there because there were going to be different doctor's appointments and screenings and all this. She goes, if I were you, I'll just spend this time with your husband and go and explore the area. She was just like, go and, that's all you have left. So I just look at her and she goes, you know what? You're so calm. Can I give you a hug? I was like, sure, give me a hug. And we just walked out of there completely crushed.
You're crushed. This person basically put an expiration date, like they stamp on a jug of milk, and saying that this is it. Go make some memories. Go be the best jug of milk you could be during this time.
Exactly.
That's it.
Yep. That's literally what she did.
There's something in me is saying, no, I'm more than this jug of milk. There's more than this expiration date.
Yes. And I told her, I go, my faith, my God is the only one that knows when he's going to take me out of this world, not you. I go, so my faith, and it became stronger. And it was like, it's a challenge. I'll prove that doctor that she was wrong. It's like, I'm going to prove her she's wrong.
Now you have something to press against.
Now I have to fight for my life more than ever. And I told my husband, let's just rent a car and drive home. I just want to go home. I want to go home to my family. I don't want to stay here. I was mad. So we did that. Got in the car. We drove. I had missed my chemo that week because I traveled. It's the same day that I was supposed to get my chemo. So it was Friday morning. I call my nurse. I say, hey, Houston was not so hot. We're driving home. We're passing through Tucson. Can I stop and get my chemo? They're like, sure. So I even stopped in Tucson, got my chemo. And I told them I'm going back with you guys. They just confirmed that we are under the best care. So Dr. Chambers will continue to be our doctor. And we decided to come home, and my husband told me, he goes, do not believe anything that doctor said. We need to fight this. We have overcome so many obstacles, and you got this.
So that doctor was like any obstacle in the way, just saying, no, this is another hurdle for me to jump. That's it. In preparing for this podcast, I've been doing a lot of studying, and we talked a little bit about it at the coffee. And Bruce Lipton,
Yes,
I got you onto his works, and he incredible guy. And he was a teacher and ended up studying about genes. Like you said, you had the gene for this, and he would genes are just blueprints. He would say genes are blueprints. They're not.
Exactly.
They're not what turns on and off. What he ended up finding out in his laboratory was it's the environment that you put these genes in that turns these things on and off. It's not the gene itself, because two twins can have the same exact genes. One will get cancer and the other one doesn't. And you would have to look back at the environment. What are they doing? Are they swallowing their feelings? Are they putting down this resentment and not dealing with the hurt from when they were 25 years old? You have to look into so much more than just, you have the gene and this is your fate, expiration date stamped. Bruce Lipton gets into a lot more, and the study is called epigenetics.
Yes.
It's pretty new, And they're starting to treat like the whole body, the person, the mind, the body, the spirit of the person, and saying there's more factors than this. Your great grandma also had ovarian cancer. She carried the gene too, and unfortunately you got it. And it's incredible to sit in front of you and hear you tell me the story that I've read in this book right here about people that have gone through the same thing. In this book, it's The Biology of Belief, and he said, yes, we do call the cancer to ourselves. We do, because it's like people would say, well, why would the body fight itself? Because cancer is the body fighting itself. That's what it is. It's like, well, why does a husband and wife fight? They're one body. Well, why do they fight? Well, sometimes because there's real issues that need to be hashed out. There's real issues there, and maybe one's not getting the attention they need and saying, hey, I need this. And so there's going to be this tension, there's going to be this fight, and there's going to be this until there's resolution. Because all the earth is looking for resolution. It's looking for peace. It's looking for harmony. That's what we're all about. Life wants more life. It doesn't want death. But the thing is we don't deal with those things and we shove them down, we are calling our death sentence to ourselves.
We are.
And this is what I've read, and I've put into my practice. Like I got off all the drugs that I was on for certain things and certain issues, and I always wanted to meet somebody else that's on that same journey. And I know cancer that's the C word, that's the mountain. But then I know I've read in the Bible where you can move mountains with faith.
With faith, exactly.
And so is that where Mia's headed?
Yes. You know what? Because Enrique, the guy that I talked to, he asked me, he goes, how do you think you're going to heal yourself? I said, you know what? I do believe in science. I do believe that chemotherapy can heal the cancer. I go, my feelings are mixed. Like, I believe that I can heal myself, the natural way, or I can do the traditional way and just do the chemotherapy. He goes, you can do both.
You can do both.
You can do both. If you believe that the chemo is going to heal you and it's going to keep things under control, but you also change your way of thinking, you can do this. He goes, and I see you being able to do it. He goes, you just need to believe that. So
you need to believe it.
I need to believe it. Exactly. So I want to believe it. I want to believe it that.
You say I want to.
No, I do believe. No, I mean,
okay.
I do. No, sorry. I do believe. Chemotherapy is helping, and it gives us the peace of mind that things are getting, staying stable. Mm-hmm. We recently just found out that after a whole year of chemotherapy, the tumors are stable. They're not growing. They're not spreading. It was not the news that I wanted. Obviously, I wanted to hear you're almost gone or the cancer is gone. But hey, things are stable. And based on, what the stupid doctor in Houston told me, I'm still here.
You're still here,
I'm
Mia.
still here. And I feel healthy. Besides of the few ups and downs of the chemotherapy, I'm healthy. And I do believe that. And like I told these people in Tucson this last week, I am living with cancer, not dying of. And people,
you're living.
I'm living, and people think that, because you have cancer, oh my gosh, they just expect to see this person that's dying and weak and no hair. No, you have to see it a completely different way in order to beat it. And
so here you are. You took control of your life. You know that you're going to push those salads away.
Yes.
You're not going to eat those things. You're going to eat what's good for Mia. You're going to do what's good for Mia. Look, I think you fight it both ways because we are spirit and we are flesh. There were two things. We're this like amazing thing that happened between this thing that's unseen coming into form like clay from the dirt, from the ground. And it's like the story of Genesis is God breathing life into this clay pot pretty much. So we are two things. So there's nothing wrong with treating them both ways. There's a story of a lady that had cancer, and she was a vegan, a runner. She did all the things, the yoga, the meditation. She all of that, still got cancer. And she had a similar situation. She went and met some people that were a little different, people that could see past the normal physical whatever, and ended up finding out she held a lot of resentment towards her mom. There was a lot of hate, a lot of resentment that she put down and continued to just stuff and put away. Well, she started to show a little bit of signs of health. Same thing, remission, cancer comes back. Well, she ended up talking to somebody else, and he said, look, you want the chemo? You need to get the chemo. You need to get the chemo because you're going down. I know you want to fight it this one way and only this one way, but do me a favor. Look at the chemo, that these things going in your body like little Pac-Man, like little things that are munching away at that tumor. And visualize that while you sit there and get this chemo, and just visualize that this tumor is getting smaller and smaller as these little Pac-Men just come and nibble at it. And she did that while she got the chemo, and she's cancer-free today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just how you see it, and how you decide to put up your fight. And everyone's going to do it in a different way. So I just want to...
Because everybody's different.
Everybody's different. So I do want to have that set of mind and not let the negative thinking or the fears kick in. Because one of the things that can consume you is not facing your fears the right way. I thought I was brave. I thought I was strong, and I was facing all my fears with a strong, positive, face and set of mind, not knowing that I was hiding all those. I was not facing them. I was being a coward. I was just hiding them.
You were hiding them somewhere deep down in Mia, just sticking them right there and just like, yeah, another day.
Yeah.
We'll deal with this another day with this facade of strength.
Yeah.
This facade of, I'm going to be there for my daughter, for my husband, for my mom and dad. Your dad, Catholic?
Both of them.
Both
Yes.
parents? What'd they say about Enrique?
My mom is really open-minded. My mom has met with him before. My dad, it's in between.
Okay.
He believes that there's no one that should be changing the way how things are just by our way of thinking. He just doesn't believe it. He goes, everything comes from God. Like, we need to just keep our faith in God, and God will give us the miracle. He just doesn't believe that by us changing our way of thinking that we can contribute to a miracle.
So even with that, you have to explore this option, even though your dad disapproves.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. It's a beautiful story to me of somebody taking their life back in their hands and facing some of the things that they have to face. And I'm so proud of you for facing those things.
Thank you.
That's not everybody does that. Some people let cancer destroy them and say stuff like my cancer.
No, and that's one of the things that I try not to do. It's not mine.
It's not yours.
It doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to my body. Mm-hmm. So, yes, I've seen a lot of people that they let themselves go, and they believe that, because they get diagnosed with cancer, that is a death sentence, their life is over. There's nothing else they can do.
They say things like, my tumor's getting bigger. My tumor, like they own this thing. And to me, I get a picture in my mind of that tumor growing when they say, oh, my tumor getting bigger? You want me to get bigger? Like, no, stop talking like that. No, figure out this thing. Figure out what's there. It's trying to tell you something. It's the same thing like when it's like, I'm feeling tired. Well, your body's saying, take a nap. I'll be honest, like that's a hard thing for me to do, is take a nap. It's very difficult for me because I saw my dad take naps forever and never do anything with me. So I have this hatred towards naps. But sometimes my body says like, dude, you need to take a nap or you're going to pass out. This isn't good. Go home and take a nap. And I've had to learn how to listen to my body and those little things and say, you're going to be okay. It's all right. Take that nap. The world is going to go on. You don't have to be strong for everybody. You don't have to answer the phone for everybody right now. Go home, take a nap. Wake up, pick up your kids, and be present for them.
And be present. And that's the thing that when you go and you're facing something, like in my situation, it took that to learn how to be present, to learn how to really just live the moment. How many times we hear it all the time, just leave the moment and don't worry about tomorrow, like enjoy the day. But we say it, but we don't apply it, and it took that. It took me getting sick. It took me someone to tell me you have less than a year for me to be okay.
To wake up and
up and be like, why am I going to worry about what's going to happen tomorrow? I thought I was doing all the right things and look what happened, Mm-hmm. So why am I going to worry? I just need to be present. I need to enjoy my life. I need to be there for my kids. I need to be there for my husband.
Those things are really important.
And be
too now.
happy and just enjoy and be grateful for, whatever you have in your life in that moment. It can be something awful. It can be, you're dealing with something that is not pretty, but you still need to be grateful for that and just face it the best way you can. So it takes to go through something like this in order to really learn how to enjoy life.
Mm-hmm. And how do your kids see this? Like their perspective of things, like you changing your life into incorporating this new belief of you can heal yourself, or Enrique?
You know what? My husband still thinks that I'm a little cuckoo. No, he believes, and he allows me to have my positive set of mind because he's seen how great things are
He's seen
going.
the results.
He's seen the results. So, and I even shared this with Johnny. The first time I show weakness, he thought I was giving up. He's like, "Oh, I'm so used to seeing strong Mia that you're showing me a sign of weakness. What is this? Like, are you giving up? Are you not fighting for your life?" So, he also believes that. He believes that if we stay positive, that we're gonna beat this. And my kids are in the same set of mind. I do have a little more struggles with my 18-year-old. She was 16, when I was diagnosed. So she's the one that doesn't know what to think of this. She thinks that she doesn't need to be healthy because mom was healthy and she still got cancer. So in her mind, it's like, I don't need to follow a healthy lifestyle. So she completely fell off the wagon. She was super healthy. She doesn't even eat dinner with us because she wants to eat her own things. So she's having her own struggles, but she also tells me, I wish I had your faith. I wish I had your positive state of mind because you are doing great. She sees that I'm doing great. So
the evidence speaks for itself. It speaks
evidence.
mountains.
Mm-hmm. And I know that
That's a great question, Rigo, because I think your daughter's going to have to face her own challenges one day and understand what her body wants and doesn't want. And maybe just because mom didn't beat this thing being healthy, maybe she needs to listen to say, maybe I shouldn't eat that because I feel like this afterwards. And, and you're just going to have to let her go and face that just like you did.
Yeah. And I think she's letting fear take over and take control because she's afraid that she might have the gene. There's a 50-50 chances that she can carry the gene. And I want her to be able to change that. I want her to believe that even if she does have the gene, that doesn't mean that she's going to end up getting cancer.
Wow.
So I need to teach that to my kids.
Yes.
I have 3 girls that have 50% chances of carrying this mutation, but they don't have to be victims. They don't have to be victims of this genetic. They can take total control of their lives as well.
Because once you're a victim of your genetics, then it's like the fight's gone.
Yeah.
What are you going to fight?
You're just giving in.
Yeah, well, it's your genes. This way it is. This is, my parents were this way, and so I'm this way now. My grandfather was this way. Heart attack, 50. I'm going to be gone when I'm 50. That's the way it is. No. We have control. We say what life is, what life isn't. The genes might be there, but you can beat anything, any obstacle, if you're willing and determined to do it. And I know I faced a lot of big things in my life. I know I have things to face in the future. So do you. So does Rigo. But if we take control and not play the victim, like you said, now we're in game. Ready, player one. We're in it.
Exactly.
What are we going to do?
Exactly. Because this BRCA mutation, 50% of the women that have this mutation don't get cancer. So it's not like you're, just because you have it, it's a given that you're eventually going to end up with cancer. No, there's a reason why those 50% of women don't have cancer. They might be doing the right things. They might be doing things differently. So we just need to focus on that. And I think that I want to pass that down to my girls and my son, that they can change.
And I hope a lot of people hear this podcast and you pass it on to a lot more people.
Yes.
Than just them, and I think that's beautiful. You're doing it with your family, but you've got a great story to tell.
Thank you.
I appreciate you taking the time to come up on this show. And
thank you for giving me this opportunity. It's, like I said, it's completely out of my comfort zone, but You make me feel so welcome. And this is something that if I can just help one person besides my family, I will be more than accomplished.
Well, you're already helping me, so that's good. Yeah, you got one person over here. So normally I end the show and ask people where they want to be. Where do you see yourself?
You know what? I see myself doing a lot of travel.
A lot of traveling.
Yes, I decided to open, I mentioned this with you, I decided to open my own travel agency. So I've been working, and that was something that I missed, working, which is crazy. But I've always been a workaholic. So I am juggling all that. Cancer, my kids, owning my own business. And I see myself being here for a very long time.
Very long time.
A very long time.
No
yes.
cancer.
No cancer, or with cancer, however things are going to be. But like I said, I'm leaving with cancer.
Okay,
so
there you go. I like that. And
Yeah.
so like, season 15 will come and
I'll be here.
We'll be here. We'll come back. We'll revisit this, and we'll say, hey, look at how far she's grown and how many people she's reached. And yeah, she was on Oprah talking about it, and it was cool. But now she's back on our podcast, and we're nationwide or worldwide, right, Rigo? We're going worldwide.
Yes.
Universe.
I like that. Rigo has better vision than I do. All right. So everybody, thank you guys for listening to season 2, episode 2 of our podcast. This has been Johnny, Rigo, and Mia Jones. Still with the coolest name ever. It's like, that's like an action figure or like you're just a badass. So they should name a character Mia Jones. Doesn't that sound cool? I
think there is a character, isn't it? Or
She's
there's
the
been a
rival of
movie or
Jessica
something.
Jones.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No, I'm joking.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, it should be. Somebody get a hold of Fox and write that in. Anyway, so anybody, thank you guys for listening. This has been the Are We Where Yet podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and share this. If you've been touched by this episode, share this with somebody that might be going through the same as Mia here. Anyway, thanks. God bless.